I love a powder bath wallpaper. Like, that's just so cute.
English kitchens are designed to like make you feel good.
I mean, personally, I'm a hands-on person. I'd rather have physical things. I'd rather do things myself instead of relying on technology to do it.
Overrated, underrated, textured walls.
I would say definitely underrated because it's a space to break up the wall, just a drywall or painted wall. We try to bring it in if we can with, wallpaper, wainscot, tile wainscot, or even shiplap. But usually it's one of those first things that gets cut, unfortunately.
I think it does break up the monotony of drywall, especially in residential. It also can provide acoustic or a sound absorption, depending on the space you're putting it in. It's a visual something. It's pretty to look at.
Yeah.
And then you can just you could do different colors, or you could do all same color if it's painted, or you could do a wood stain that kind of works with some other part of the space. Also, something maybe we're not thinking about is tile. A lot of the times I want to do more tile in a bathroom and not just in the wet space. So tile on the walls. I just saw a video of someone, like an old 50s kitchen that had tile on the ceiling.
Oh, man.
I was like, yes, I love this. The guy was talking about grease on the ceiling. I was like, no, that's not, it's probably not going to happen, but it looks really pretty.
That's crazy.
I think it's an area where the commercialization of housing building has really affected some design elements like that, because it's a really something we think of as old world, but it had a practical use in old world. Now we just have baseboards to protect our sheetrock, right? But wainscoting, part of the purpose of that was that it was easy to clean. It was generally easy to replace as a wood material, but it protected your walls. It had so much more longevity. It's something you'd see in a lot more older homes in the UK or just anywhere in Europe than you see here, because most of our builds are a lot newer, and again, they're just more basic commercial cookie cutter, lots of sheetrock and basic trim. So I think it's an element that would be amazing to add back in as more of a standard. Even though it is an added cost, it can make your space have just so much more longevity.
I think it's pretty. It looks nice and adds a visual element. But also you could tie in the practicality of it. We're not just pulling this out of nowhere. These things exist. Well, some of them are new to the world, but they come from somewhere with a backstory of chair rail or wainscot or backsplash. Even that's a texture in itself, and it's protecting your wall and water and splatter and whatever. So I think if you kind of package it up nicely and say you want this because of this, please do it.
Yeah.
Please.
Wallpaper, but specifically texture, sort of maximalist wallpaper.
Oh, controversy.
Yay. Let's hear it.
Adrian, you should go first.
I am not a big fan of maximalism, style or wallpaper. I do love wallpaper, but to me, it needs to be simple. It still breaks it up a little bit, but I just need something a little more simpler.
Like what? What are you drawn to with wallpaper?
I don't use it a whole lot. I try not to use it, but it does bring it in. I would prefer paint colors, mainly because I personally, my parents' house, I've had to tear it down before. It's a pain. So I would want to, if I want to change something, I could paint it. I could just paint something instead and change that color instead of wallpaper. If I like this wallpaper once and then 2-3 years later, I'm like, I don't want to go through this process of soaking it and scraping it off.
Are you drawn to textured wallpaper then?
A little bit.
Subtle patterns?
Subtle pattern, a little bit of texture, not
Or do you
lot.
The subtle patterns where up close it's little things, a small pattern? Or do you explain to me maybe?
There's kind of a difference. I like either a larger pattern where it's not too busy.
Okay. But it's a repeat. And
but it's a repeat, yes.
Not some foresty scene with a monkey hanging out.
But I don't like the ones that are small patterns and then it just, when you step, 5 feet out, it's just like way too busy.
Interesting.
I love all wallpaper. Maybe not those ones with the little tiny beads on it, and then like you can scrape it off. That's just not fun.
Or flocked wallpaper.
Oh, gosh.
No.
I mean, maybe. Prove me wrong.
Nah.
And well, maybe there's like modern ones that are like.
That's true.
But cleaning it and dust.
Yeah. I think wallpaper serves such a purpose in terms of like color and pattern. And it's one of those areas where it's like the perfect transition from like full on interior design where you're like decorating and like design where you're saying this is what the house is like, the finishes of the inside of the house are going to look like. And I think it kind of like bridges that gap a lot of the time. And I think it's just a really amazing way to make an impact. Obviously, there's a lot of tasteful wallpaper and there's a lot of very untasteful wallpaper out there. So tread carefully. But I think it's an incredible way to add color and impact and just visual interest and texture.
Agreed. I love most wallpaper. Usually, I also really want to do one of those wallpaper murals, even though it's kind of like 1970s with the birch trees on the wall. It's tasteful now, and it's like this whimsical, like foresty little thing, and then you like pull a color from that to paint on the walls, and you have trim and color washing. Yeah, I want a moody and I think wallpaper can just make it feel luxe and maybe quiet luxury a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I love a powder bath wallpaper. Like that's just so cute. If I go anywhere and there's a bathroom with like cute little wallpaper and there's like little things, I'm like, oh, this is so cute.
Yeah. I think it's a way to be like, it's not just sheetrock. Like we're so used to drywall and drywall finishes and like just standard orange peel that it's a way we can be like, oh, this is special. Just a little bit. And in areas like a powder bath where it's like you're in there all the time, right?
Right.
It's such a nice thing to have this little like pop of like interest in a really high use area that otherwise, even if you put an interesting color on the wall, it might just be like, well, it's this little small room, right?
Yeah. I also want to do, I think I'm going to do it on a project on a ceiling. I think that's fun. Just like unexpected, makes you look up. Often we don't look up in spaces. Like at a grocery store, look up. It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
But yeah, I think it's super fun and a way to do like we were just talking about textured walls. It's a way to do that. Like that's a little bit less like labor, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Overrated, underrated. Arches. Throughout. We're talking arches, arch doors, possibly windows, hood, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Well, maybe extend it into curves. We got a properly rated, and we got some underrated. Ooh, okay. Let's hear it.
I really, really love them. I love that they add organic shape. There's a lot of historical context for arches. I don't want like one random arch and then everything else is standard doors. I think it's one of those things where if you're only going to have one, it has to be really intentional and you have to be really thoughtful about it. I am super pro arches. I would love to do them everywhere all the time. But I think it could be really easy to be like, this is a cool fad and have like one arch in a place where like visually it doesn't tie in. There's no other curves that tie into it like visually. There's nothing that matches it in the room. And that is kind of a pet peeve. But otherwise, I think they're amazing. I just think if you're going to do them, you need to have some other arch, at least one or two other places in the room that it could just be a piece of furniture. It could be part of cabinetry. It could be a piece of decor, but you need to figure out a way to tie it in. So it's not just like its own little thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's like a one or you kind of got to go all the way. You know, you got to tie it in somehow. It can't just be one arch and then it's nowhere else to be seen. Got to tie it in somehow.
I agree. I would just like to see them come back a little bit more. I think that we've like gone so far to everything is like straight lines and very like rigid and hard. And I think arches break up the monotony and it adds, I like the historical aspect. So you want to make sure your arch looks like it's actually accurately built or intentional. We have somebody who works here who is like obsessed with arches and really wants to do them more. And there's a lot of math that goes behind it that we don't even realize. we just make it happen somehow.
Make it look pretty.
We do it on paper and just please. But yeah, I think it would be really cool.
Right.
Not just like doorways too. The person I'm talking about is doing his porch that way, like his entry porch cover.
Interesting.
Okay, overrated, underrated, English style kitchens.
I don't even know. Honestly.
So middle, maybe.
Sure. Middle.
There you go. English style kitchens. Again, historical context, which I think is really important because all design, very few designs are truly new. Most design builds on design that has already been done and past historical design and like the way we as humans use things, right? But English kitchens are designed to like make you feel good. And I think that a lot of kitchens are designed to just hold stuff. And I think a lot of it is about the philosophy behind why it's designed that way and the intentionality behind it. Is somebody who forewent having any upper cabinets in my kitchen because I can't reach them because I'm short and I hate getting stools out. And I'm like, my kids can't get into them. I can't get into them. They're just going to be there holding stuff. I don't want to have so much stuff that I'm filling these. And so I think that a lot of why I like the English kitchens, it's not just the aesthetics, although that's a huge part of it. It's about like the philosophy of like, what is the space intended for?
Yeah, I think it's more of like a working kitchen too.
Yes.
Instead of like aesthetically pleasing and like this is where everything goes because that's what's happening now. Obviously, technology and our way of life has changed. So, I mean, there's something to be said about that. Like, they don't have a dishwasher.
Or 16 Instapots.
Yeah. Or needing an appliance garage. But I think blending the philosophy and then like adapting that to what's current, and then also the aesthetics is obviously a huge part, because if it's the philosophy but it looks French, like it's not English anymore.
Yeah.
But I think it's very like, you know, cottage, like the floor is like more rustic, it's tile or like a brick maybe.
Yeah.
What else? What other features? Like,
Say just more organic elements, but also finding items that you use frequently and keeping them out, whether it's like maybe some of your really commonly used pantry goods, you're storing them in jars, you're making it look more like old world. You're not like, well, here's my blue box of spaghetti noodles sitting on this open shelf. It's like, no, you're going to put it into like a decorative container, and whether it's clear or not, you know, oh, that's where I keep this thing that I use every day for my kids in my case.
So it's like blending decorative
Yes,
and
function.
function, yeah.
Yes, but it's keeping in mind that the kitchen is a workspace, but the workspace does not mean that everything has to be put away so that every time you go to use it, which is in some cases very frequently depending on the person and their lifestyle, that it's really accessible. But that you're not walking in and going, oh my God, there's stuff everywhere and I can't function. It needs to be aesthetic still. I would say it's really organic feeling, like really earthy.
What about using a table as an island?
I have that in my kitchen.
I want
love
that so
it.
bad for myself.
I love it. It is sometimes a little annoying as it's our only, I have a really small house. It's like our only dining room. I do really wish I had a separate, like more formal dining room. But I love it from the perspective of like, that is the room we all spend the most time in. Like we eat meals in there. The kids are constantly coming in and out. They do their homework in there. Like I'm making cookies in there. I'm baking bread. Like we're all like as a family unit in there a lot. And I really like that it feels like more homey to me that way.
Do you use it as a workspace
Yes.
as well? So is like one side of it more of like a workspace and the other side is more of like a dining space, or no?
It's a full-on kitchen table in the middle of my kitchen.
Nice.
Just
With tables all the way around.
yeah, with chairs all the way around. I have benches just to make it.
We knew what you meant.
Tables.
You know.
No, I have benches on one side by the sink because it's just a little bit more comfortable.
There you go.
They're more tucked away
Yeah.
when we're not using them, and so when I'm at the sink or using the dishwasher, it's less in the way. It definitely, like, space planning is really important with that. I have a narrower table than you might typically have just to make sure that there's enough space to use all around it. But I just think for me and like my lifestyle, having it in there makes so much more sense than like I have my kitchen and then my dining room like in this separate room, because we would just be constantly walking back and forth between the two.
Yeah. I definitely think functionally it makes sense, but personally, I would probably lean towards not having that.
The table or
the table?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I would prefer more of a work, a work
Purely work surface.
Work surface. That's the word. My brain. A work surface, and then be able to kind of go.
Like more separation.
But functionally, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, before I say it, let me say it before you give your rating. Before you give your rating, let me give a brief explanation.
Okay.
So this one is going to be smart home technology,
jeez.
which has gotten significantly better in recent years. That's the addendum. Okay, so on that grounds, is it overrated or underrated? We got it properly rated.
I'm like kind of in the middle, but I would lean this way.
I agree. I'm the same. Like, I would agree with Emily. I don't want to lean heavily on tech for things. Like, I prefer, personally, I'm a hands-on person. I'd rather have physical things. I'd rather do things myself instead of relying on technology to do it. But in a sense, it does make sense because, like, right now, for example, like even my thermostat, it's not smart related. And so, like, if we're gone, it's at that specific temperature. I don't have a way of controlling it to turn it down. Same with like your fridge. You can do the same thing. You could turn it on vacation mode from your apps now. And I'm just like, I'd rather not rely on an app, even though I see the functionality behind it.
I'm really mixed on this because I don't like the invasion of technology into my house, but I also understand that because of the way technology is so integrated into our lives, sometimes things that are made to make our lives easier actually like are more work for us. Like, and I really appreciate that I can have like my home system where I'm like, it automatically turns all my lights off for me. I have scenes set and schedules set, and I'm not running around being like this, and this, or like, I appreciate like the fact that I can sync up because there's just one of me. And like, we used to live like, I don't know. I feel like we all kind of use technology to get away with having like our own little like tiny little individual lives instead of people, like more people used to live together at a time. And you maybe like had household employees, and like that was just more like historically what has been the case. And so when you add in things like a dishwasher to eliminate like all the time spent dishwashing, or the fact that you have a thermostat and you're not like raking the coals and making a fire all the time, right? Like, it is saving you time, and it is like energy efficient, and it is saving you money to some degree, but it's also like a lot of like mental work. So I do appreciate technology that lets you set something up and then like never have to touch it again. I think setting it up takes time, but then if you don't have to deal with it again, I like that. I'm not huge into like needing to know what wash cycle my washer's on right now. Like, I just find that very unnecessary. That seems like I have the option to do that. I don't even know how to set up on my phone. So I'm like, I'm literally never going to look at that.
Right.
I don't need to know. Would it be nice to be like, hey, I need to restart that load because I know it's not dry yet? Maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I need that mental check of like.
Also think with how fast technology changes, I think that when you fully integrate it into your house, you run a risk of it being so outdated that you're going to have to rip it all out because it's become defunct.
Yeah. I lean on like maybe just being a little bit behind the times in terms of like, let's just vet this out. I'm not the first person out there getting the virtual like glasses because like I want to wait and see what it's all about. Somebody else can go be the first trial. Yeah, I kind of leaned somewhere in the middle. I do have some like, well, they're not high tech, but they connect to my phone. I don't have a smart home, but there are features in my house that are smart.
Right.
They're not like built in.
Right.
But like then I can go on vacation and know that my cat has water. So that's nice, but it's also annoying because I get notified all the time of things that I don't really need to know.
Cat water level low.
Yeah, which is nice because it's in the basement and I want to go down there and check on it. So it is nice, but I think there's caveats, like it's a distraction from things that like are more important, and I like it removes you from certain things. So what's the trade-off? Like what are you gaining, and is it really worth it at that point?
Yeah.
Overrated, underrated. So This one is wet rooms. Oh, we have like strong agreement here. Okay, I want to make sure that our people are on the same page a little bit too. So give us like an explanation that's like, it's basically anything can get wet, if I understand it right. Like it is an entirely waterproof bathroom, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe expound on it a little bit and then tell us why you think it's underrated.
Full tile usually, or some sort of non-porous material. That is like, you're not going to be spraying water at your vanity. So it seems silly, but it makes, as we were talking about textured walls, it kind of adds that full encompassing texture everywhere. But more importantly, it kind of opens up your space plan, like space planning a little bit. So if you have a tub and a shower, usually you could do a wet room for that as well. So it doesn't have to be the full bathroom. I do really like that, like when it's a full bathroom, but you could do like glass, and then behind there is your shower and tub all in one.
Right.
Because those are it's like very wet. And I mean, if you have like kids that splash everywhere, it's a good solution. Right. It also looks really pretty if it's done well. But also you could remove the glass if it's a wet room. A lot of people hate shower glass. If you have a wet room, you don't need it.
Right.
Technically. But the caveat is potentially it's a colder shower.
Yeah. I would keep the glass, but I love the aspect that it is, you know, with proper tile installation, it is so waterproof and so durable, and it has such longevity. It's going to last longer than any other flooring you put in there.
Right.
And any sheetrock you put on the walls. It's going to be the most mold resistant. You're going to have the least concern about water in an area where you run a lot of water through there every day. And it's also like the easiest to clean and get it like truly clean.
Right.
Well,
trade-off though, some people hate grout.
This is true.
Yes.
But I mean, to be fair, usually grout only goes south when it's in a wet space, like the actual water is touching that area. So the tile over by your vanity is probably fine unless you're splashing onto the ground. But and also if you let it go too long, like you just gotta keep up on your cleaning, and then it'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're beautiful spaces if done properly.
Yeah.
It also lets light in because you don't have a wall. You don't have the shower glass, like a full shower
separation.
glass separating it. And it allows you to have this continuous tile, you know, throughout your space.
Also, I love when it's more like slab. So like, well, maybe not real marble, but you could do marble if you really wanted.
Yeah.
But like full slab walls, you could break it up. Obviously, panels come in certain sizes, but then you don't have grout.
Right.
So it looks beautiful, large, easy to clean, depending on the material. I think it looks pretty luxe. That's not quite luxury.
Right.
If it's marble.
Yes.
If it's grout you're worried about too, it's such a prime opportunity for doing something like limestone or micro cement, which are a little bit more like luxe items, but they are fully waterproof. There's no grout lines. They're really easy to clean. They don't stain. Like they have incredible durability and longevity. I think it's a great opportunity to use a product like that.
Plaster hood vents.
We're trendy.
We are very trendy.
Well, we see drywall on walls and ceilings all the time. You don't see it on a hood all the time. Like, it's more popular nowadays, but I think it's a great way to like break up the cabinetry, because you're not going to have plaster cabinetry, but you can do it on the hood. And I think it like, depending on the style, it could help make it look like a feature, or it could help it blend away. Yeah. So maybe you don't have upper cabinets and you want it to kind of like still feel open in the space.
Yeah,
Agreed.
It definitely gives that sense of luxury in a sense, because you're not having this stainless hood. You're not having cabinet material, even though cabinet material is fine if you want it to kind of go together. But it does give that sense of luxury, and you can paint it technically if you want to give an accent or blend, like you said.
Yeah. And the texture is different than the typical drywall textures.
Right.
So it's nice. It's like, oh, what is that material? That looks clean. What do you think?
I think it's depending on if you're doing true plaster or not, or if you're doing like a faux drywall kind of look, where you've got that smooth texture. I think it's an area where people like to do something like really custom or interesting with the hood. Typically, they want to make it a feature because it is such a big bulky item. It's either going to be this big stainless steel thing in your home, which can be a feature sometimes, but I think it's an area where people typically want to be like, here's my beautiful range and there's my hood vent, right? And so I just think it's a really nice way to do something that feels a little more old world, but also is like different than just another custom wood hood vent, which I tend to get kind of repetitive, to be honest, and sometimes overbuilt and overly busy. And I think it's a great way to have like a feature, but it's like minimal and not too overbearing.
And you can do more shapes. You can be a little bit more organic with it because it's easier to manipulate than rigid material.
Yeah, and it can actually be a cost savings. I meant to say that earlier, because you're not doing like this super custom wood hood vent. If you go like a smooth drywall route, it's framing and drywall and drywall finish. It sometimes can cost less,
right?
And you could get something bigger or more interesting for the same amount of money as doing a really custom hood vent.
Okay, final question. Bold colors. Overrated, underrated?
Context is important. Bold color does not necessarily. If I held this up, I felt like I would be lying a little bit, because I think that bold color is amazing when done tastefully and well. I think it is so easy to do it in a way that is
jarring.
Yes.
Overdone.
Like the color and the undertones are just so important, and where you're placing it and why you're doing it and how you want it to make you feel are so important. And I think it would be really easy to just be like, yeah, bold color. And somebody's like, all right, everything is neon pink.
Yeah.
Which, if that's what you really genuinely, truly love, go for it. But that's definitely not going to be like, it's not going to solve what the client is looking for typically, to just color wash everything hot Barbie pink. It's going to be like, I like this color. It makes me feel this way. Let's figure out how to incorporate it tastefully into your design.
I had a hot pink bedroom growing up. And when you would walk up the stairs to the bedroom, it was glowing. And as a child, that was fun.
Right.
But also, the rest of the house was like beige.
Right.
And it looked weird to like look upstairs and be like, the glowing bedrooms. I like having like, I liked at the time having my independence to have the color I wanted. My sister's they were like in the corner. Hers was bright green.
Oh, geez.
And mine was bright pink. So like, cool, fun as a kid, but like that doesn't translate to the rest of the house.
Right.
So you got to keep that in mind too. How are you going to maybe, if that's what you're going for, why are you going for it? And how can you incorporate that through the rest of your house so it's not so jarring when you walk into your primary suite and it's this big bubblegum bedroom or something. Like, also, you can do it tastefully. Maybe you like the bright green, but maybe we do it in a way that's not the whole room is bright green and there's like a little element here or there.
Yeah.
And maybe there's enough motion tied to the bright green that we can evoke in some other way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how can we accent with that and then use, associating colors to help kind of blend it a little better instead of just being like hot pink.
Yeah. But going back to wallpaper, and that's another way to add some color too.
Yeah.
And that's not maybe the whole thing, little aspects of it throughout. Paint also, don't just paint your wall bright color, like add some trim on the wall or add a texture to break it up and add a visual element to it, or maybe do crown, or maybe just paint the ceiling. Depends. It all depends on the space and what you're trying to do.
Is there a specific bold color or color, one or two? This is the last question.
Bold color?
What do you mean?
Like, if we're going to go bold, a bold red is very different than a bold blue or green, right?
That's true.
I mean, there's the psychology behind each color. Like red can be anger, but but in marketing, it's like the most eye-catching.
Right.
I'm sure there are other things. Like I'm sure there's religious ties to red too. For sure. So it depends. What are you going for? But I lean towards the safer colors like blue, green. I don't want to say neutrals because it's still a color. Like it's not white, but like maybe you could do like a brown. That's still like bold in my opinion. Pink. Oh, depends.
It's a little,
Red, that's a little hard. I've never done a red bedroom or red anything really.
I've had a red bedroom once.
You
In a
had
job. In a
personally?
job.
Oh,
No,
okay.
in a job.
Like what kind of red?
It was like borderline red orange, but it was very dark.
Okay, that
He
helps.
did walls and ceiling, all red.
I think
Yeah,
it's,
it's
very
very-
though, if it has the right undertone, because
Yes.
it's about being dark but also being muted. If you do like
Yes.
a super intense, high, like just like high visual frequency color, it's gonna make you feel stressful no matter what the color is, even if it's blue or green or whatever, or an organic color. But if it's got the right more muted undertone, I think you could go really bold. Like you could do a pink. I might be more like terracotta orange gray pink, but it's muted and it's
Right.
calming, and it's not like you don't walk in the room and feel like the walls are about to beat you over the head with the color that they are. It's you walk in there and you go, oh, this is a vibe.
I also think it depends on the type of room too.
Right.
Like what's the emotion or feeling you want in your bedroom versus your bathroom versus a gym versus this room.
Yeah.
So think about that. Yellow could go south real easily in
Right.
my opinion. Yellow, purple. Oh, purple's hard too.
Deep, dark, like maroony purple. Again, for me, it's like the muted undertones.
Yeah.
If it's too high intensity, even if it's dark, if it's too high intensity, too cold, too bright, it's just, it's always going to feel off to me. But if it's a more muted tone, it's going to mimic something you're going to find in nature. You're going to not feel as stressed around it. Like I think you can go really bold as long as it has muted undertones.
Yeah.
Would you count black as being bold?
Oh.
See, okay, there's true black, and then there's like 40,000 other
Yes.
shades of black. So I think black can be very bold as a choice, but I think that you could color wash, say, like a bathroom or a bedroom. I wouldn't personally do a living space of my home, but I would absolutely do like a bedroom, a bathroom, and color wash it with the right undertone, maybe more like a really deep charcoal that was muted.
Black
But I think you could do it.
One
With
time
the
I've
right
used-
stuff, it could be amazing.
I've been to a bathroom before. It had a black toilet, black walls, black everything, and I couldn't see anything. And I was scared because I couldn't like see the cleanliness of this bathroom. I wanted to be like, house lights, please. Like, what is going on in here?
You need one of those Alexa toilets that Kohler has, or it's like got the lights on it.
Fancy.
Yeah.